Hey everybody, it's Alan again to talk about Blitz some more. I know I've got a cold. I'm sorry. I sound even more terrible than normal. And I shaved to mess with my kids. So sorry about that too. Oh my gosh, this is a terrible video. He looks worse. He sounds worse, but the ideas are good. Maybe they are better this time around. All right. So we're in TTS. I just want to shadow box a little bit of Vaps. I think Vaps in Modern Legion highlights all of the problems with turn zero. And I think Blitz solves all those problems. And I want to look at that. And I think it's easier to show you because there's a lot going on I think with the game that we're not always super conscious of. So I spawned a couple lists. Over here we got Callus and Boba and some chumps, big old pile of chumps to do some shooting. Over here, this doesn't super matter. I don't know why it's just so your brain thinks, I'm gonna trick you into thinking this is for real. Okay, we got Wookiee Defenders, we got Chewie, we got some P2s, we got Arcs being cheesy, we got, Wookums with shields, Wookums with shoot'ems, a Bark, and a soon-to-be dead, uh, Flying Cricket Mobile. Okay. All right, so, this list has Vaps. Let's pop it. Let's do a pretend turn zero and get to Vaps real quick. Oh, well, we're cheating, so if you don't mind. And let's do major offensive because this is like the quintessential oops, right? So blue player here. I like to use these. I don't use the ones out of the bag because there's a bug where you can't get the models. You can't get the models off these ones. I'm not sure why. They use the same code. They're supposed to anyway. I don't know. So I always pull them off the stack. Same thing for intercept. You could get the intercepts in here. They're number 5. Yeah, so there you go. If you're jonesing for the good old days when Vaps looked like Vaps, there you go. All right. So let's talk about the asymmetry in turn zero, because turn zero is not symmetrical, not remotely. In this scenario, right, blue player has the bid. I think that's true. We're saying it's true. We're pretending like it's true. Just go with it. Don't think too hard about the reality of the demonstration. Think about the premise, right? So this gun line has to kill something of red's, right? So red is gonna set up over here, right? Red's gonna do one of these, like put one here and put one here, kind of things, right? Super defensive. They may not do exactly this. You get the idea. This is a really defensive spot. And this is a really defensive spot, right? Because they've got to set up range 1 outside of their their deployment, and then they've got to set up uh, where the bubbles don't touch, 2 away from each other. Okay, so that's the mystery for red. So this is basically red's mode, right? This is tall enough to hide a silhouette. This is if you're blue, you got to go first technically, but like we have brains, we can imagine where red is going to want to go, right? That's part of the game. So if I'm an idiot, uh, don't answer so fast, guys. Come on, come on. Uh, right? I'm like, oh, I don't want him to tap my Vap. He's got all those punchy guys. I better play this real safe. I'm gonna make sure he doesn't touch my Vaps. Right? I'm gonna do this, and then even this is like not the worst case. The worst case is you chuck it way up here. Do this kind of stupid stuff. And you're like, okay, I'm really safe. It's gonna take him forever to get over here, right? Meanwhile, red is just gonna chill in their little castle because you've got to come to them if you have the bid, right? So, uh, as the player who has to be the aggressor, all of the pressure is on you to set up right. right? The floor for blue player in this scenario is way lower, right? And this is the asymmetry I'm talking about. So red player just does the obvious most offensive thing. Put my Vaps in a position where I can tap them and my opponent cannot, right? That is basically the goal of the objective. Tap my Vaps, don't let my opponent tap them. Blue player has to kill something and do all of that, right? So in that scenario, blue player can't afford this setup because they're going to lose a whole bunch of actions, right? Now, let's just pretend. Use our little pretendy brains. Okay, we're gonna scout 3 out of here because that's what we are. We're scout troopers. We can't base this thing toward 0 even though we can reach, right? And this used to be like kind of the thing for speed 3 stuff. All right, so we're gonna scout our guys over here. All right, turn 1 Cubs up. So we'll do a double move. And we're basing our VAP for next turn. All right, so we could tap this, right? And we'll assume we do that with this guy also. Now what happened here? You're like, what's wrong with this? Okay, well, here's what's wrong with this. These guys only get to do 12 things a game. You just burned through a sixth of all the things they get to do. Then next turn, each of them is going to burn one more thing. So now you're at, you know, a full 25%. 25% of their game is just over here. Meanwhile, red is all of red is back here goofing around, right? I don't want to put too many things out here because I don't want to make the board too hard to reset, right? Now these dudes are going to have to run forever to try to get an open shot in range, right? They're not even in range. We've got to at least double move to get in range of this VAP. And it's gonna be close because remember, movement is a tenth of an inch short of uh, whatever. So it's 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches is like roughly the move values. It's actually a tenth of an inch shorter than that. So speed 1 is 3.9. Speed 2 is 5.9. That's why you could be at exactly 2 and shoot a dude and he can't melee you. He can't charge melee you back. Okay, so this is why this is asymmetrical. Blue can really screw themselves. Red not so much. I mean, like, yes, they could do something really moronic and just like stick them out in front, but uh, by kind of doing the obvious thing, like they could do the obvious thing not particularly well and they're fine, right? Like if red put this one over here because they were like, let's assume we wiggle this around, put this one back here, put this one up here, right? If we do this sort of hyper defensive setup, like yes, this guy doesn't have the best cover to this, but look how far away this is. This is forever. Like, yay, I'm a scout. I climbed up here. I gotta get, oh, wait. Oh, if he's on the back edge, I still can't shoot him, right? What are you gonna do? Climb down and get rinsed? You know, whatever. So you gotta run around this corner. Meanwhile, Wookiees ambush you from here. Ugh, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for blue player. And meanwhile, they've got these idiots over here doing who knows what. Trying to tap, so they're playing down 2 acts minimum, right? What if these guys have to do all of these VAPs? So they scout up turn 1, they move tap tap. Okay, that one's done. Then the next turn they double move. They're not quite there because they got to be range 2 apart. So that it's 3 actions over here. So we're looking at and then a tap tap. So that's 2 more turns. So it's half the game. Half the game you're going to play down 2 acts. Because you put these in the wrong spot, right? Whereas if you put them you know, here and here or something. Something where you could kind of like slice a corner. So if they do set up here or here, right? Okay, fine. We scout up here, we do this, then we run down here, we do this. Okay, now we're at least, you know, it's not the worst move shoot. That's probably even too conservative, isn't it? Kinda gotta put it over here. Scooch this guy in. Something like that. Right? Hard against Wookiees to put it way up here. You know, all the way up. But Callus and Boba can do a lot. No, the Whipcourt's still good. Still is. All right, so uh, what I want to highlight here, this player that has to play aggressively, the blue player in our little thinky think here, has to get this right, or they're really hosed. They're way behind in win percentage. The hypothetical elusive made up number. Right. Red player, a lot less pressure. Right. So they get the last cut. Let me make sure I'm on screen. Red player gets the last cut. So they get to determine the scenario. We're saying blue has the bid here. So they get to pick the thing that blue has to do to them. And, you know, they get to put Vaps down second, and they get to play defensively. A lot of advantages. Blue player, meanwhile, and I still think like the general flow of turn 0 is right and compelling and has tremendous variety. All these are you know, part of what make Legion so great as a game. But boy, you could screw up, right? This is one of those cases where it's like I've definitely won game night games against casual players who are just like didn't put their Vaps as aggressively as they needed to, right? And there were guys who learned it slow, and I kind of knew like, oh, if I play Vaps, there's a decent chance they don't get their Vaps in the right spot, and I'm ahead, right? I make it a little bit easier on myself. So I want to eliminate that discrepancy, that asymmetrical value or risk in turn 0. That shouldn't happen, right? Red should get to determine the objective that blue has to come do to them, assuming the bid situation is kind of like what you'd normally expect. But blue shouldn't be able to screw up so bad that now they're behind all the advantages red already had, and they've shot themselves in the foot, right? We don't want to have scenarios where you could shoot yourself in the foot that aren't tactical decisions. It's just not compelling, right? I mean, like, look, you can lose turn -1 when you just make a bad army. That's always going to exist in this sort of thing. You can't fix that entirely. Org chart does it a little bit, but you know, here we are. So what can we fix, right? How do we fix this? Vaps has often been talked about as like this scenario could become incredibly non-interactive, right? So let's say blue does set up really defensive. Let's talk about another feature of Blitz where we could see it, right? Blue sets up real defensive, red sets up this kind of thing. Blue manages to corner peek with some stuff. Boba jumps over here, whatever. And they finish off the bark. Boom. Dead bark. Or, let's face it, it's the flutter. The flutter dies. All right. Blue's now ahead. Blue now just backs the heck up. And blue castles back here. Right? Now red, who's set up real defensively. Let's assume red played it real safe. They set up over here. Red, who's set up real defensively, has to now slog their whole army all the way across the board in time to try to get over here, right? It becomes this just like right? We've seen this nightmare with Aiden and Cassian. I'm guilty of it 100%. I'm gonna play a super defensive thing and I'm just gonna sit there, I'm just gonna shoot down one thing from infinite range, right? And then you better figure it out and you better close the gap early where you could make something happen or not and GG or hide, you know. Um, but that's a lot of, dodge standbys. That's a whole bunch of really, really careful moving and silhouette checking. Like those turn into really tedious games. They could be tense, right? But it is tedious, and the variance of the game goes way up because the number of meaningful rolls goes way down, right? You just have one unit shooting at one unit defending. Like how those rolls for those two things, maybe just 6 times, determines the game, right? You've got Aiden hunting a dwarf spider. If she just rolls 2 hits every time, like if she's got the aim support, all she's got to do is roll 2 hits 3 times, and he's cooked, right? Probably, unless the saves are real hot, and it's going to take more, right? So this is where it gets weird, right? And so the higher variance you make the game, the less predictable the outcome, right? And so that's a thing you want to let the players play with. That's not a thing you want to have like be determined by these in to extreme degrees based on the objective and the board setup, which is what happens currently because the board is too big. Board is just too big, right? I would say if we set this back up into something, right? So here's the worst case scenario where everything is maximally far apart, right? You're using all 6 feet of horizontal space. This is going to be very high variance, or one guy's just toast out of the gate, right? Blue player here never picks anything off. They don't get a lot of shots. They can't really close because red can be so defensive and just stack up and wait for them. Nothing works. If blue does kill something and then they're able to back up at all, red now has to run across the whole board. Right? Turds and turds of running. 12 inches there, close enough. Because it's 5.9 really. So that 11.8 is exactly right. 2. Oh, my Wookiees never got there. I never even got to take a shot. 3. Game's over. Oh well. Right? The board's too big. The board is too big, right? In the best case scenario, right, which is blue's got blue's real brave. That's not a terrible spot. No, it's a little hard to get the other thing in. Blue's real brave, okay? They make this happen. They got Boba. They could jump over there and get that thing real quick early. They got Callus. He's got ascension cables because we're smart like that. All right. Yeah, with ascension cables, you just climb straight over this thing, can't you? Wow. Wow, what a great table. Wow. Okay. I'm, these are mine that we scanned. Just being a goober. All right. In this scenario, look how big the board actually is. Right? We cut the board way down. What's this you say? It's 4x3. I know it's 4x3. I think in a proper game, like a good game of Legion, everything happens in 3 to 4 feet. And that's really interesting when you're like, okay, all this stuff, this whole corner over here is just wasted terrain. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6 pieces. 7 if you count that pipe as separate. You had to get 7 good pieces of terrain on the board. that aren't going to matter for any given play experience. Now, it may change which 7. Erase all drawn lines. Yeah, get that out of here. It may change which 7 you don't need from round to round if you're thinking about this in a tournament setting. And that's interesting, but now you've created another layer of complex decision making, right? So now I not only have to worry about the geometry, the action economy of the thing, I also have to worry about where exactly on the board I want this to take place. And if I'm blue, I don't have a choice anyway. I don't really have a choice anyway. You do a little bit because you put the first objective down. But red also puts the last objective down, right? Yikes. Right? So in Vaps, the probability that this side of the board is always out of play, effectively, assuming the necessary aggressive deployment, right? You see where this is going? A bunch of the board is wasted. A bunch of the board is wasted, right? So why are we all making this much extra terrain? That's another thing I can't figure out, and I touched on this in my little TED Talk ramble about Blitz as well. So, all right, let's look at what it looks like in Blitz, the future of Legion. Actually, not the future, the now. And this is part of my point about that spacing, right? Like in most of your like exciting games, you're going to be in this much space. You're going to be in half the board or less. How many times do you play hemmed in and everybody sets up just like on half? You just pick half and you just play on half the board. And then the other 50% of the board is basically out of play. It's not zero. You don't often spread out for hemmed in. There's not really as much incentive to. For disarray, right? You end up playing on half the board, and then these two idiots try to run back, without getting smoked, or they just fight each other in their own little weird skirmish that happens over here, right? So there's a lot of scenarios where the game is only half the board. And I think those tend to be most of the games, right? So everybody's like, you can't switch to 3x3. It's like you're already playing a 3x3, man. Intercept is from just behind this point to mid. That's where all the action takes place, is at these 3, right? And then whoever's, right? One team is on defense, and one team is pushing, right? And so really, it's just from corner to corner, from the 3 objectives. Oh wait, that's 3 feet, right? Like, yes, your snipers might stand right here to shoot on the mid, but if they want to like shoot at the dudes who just have their toes out of mid, they got to be right up here, you know, to get lanes and negotiate the terrain, everything else. Like, they can't be too far back or they're not going to get meaningful shots on the mid. You're already playing on a 3x3. You just set up a bunch of terrain you're not using. All right, let's load up. So let's just do this. Oh, no, we gotta go to maps. Clear the map. All right, we cleared the map. Going back. We'll pop open a new map. See a Nova processing. All right. This is one of droids. Let's see. I played this one the other day. This one was pretty fun. Nope. Load map. Bloop. All right, here we go. Coruscant Slums 3x3. It's in droids pack. This thing has a goofy collider. Droids, just so you know. I had to fix that when I went in here. Copy that, put the collider in there, re-import it. It'll work fine. So if you play that one, there you go. But yeah, I'll message you separately, because what are the odds you listen to this, and then what are the odds you made it flipping 25 minutes in? Here I am, soapboxing away. All right. So let's pretend we did this again. We'll just change this to Blitz. We'll spawn our major offensive, right? Now let's try putting our Vaps down. Same armies. We'll think about it the same. We'll stick with major. Major is, right, just like a truncated version of itself. But look at this. Oh, mama. Do you feel good about this spot? I don't feel good about that spot. This is a pretty good spot. Oh, that wall's in the way though. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right, we'll do one over here because this is not bad, and we could slice that corner then a little bit without hopefully getting our scouts rinsed. Okay. So we'll go there. Now we're red. We're red. We have the power of Wookums. Right, so these can't touch. So I could put one down here. That's not terrible. For like the battle shield guys to deal with that one. Okay. So if we know he's going to be over there, do we risk putting one here? No, because we don't want to have to try to tap this in light getting shot from heavy, right? So I guess we'll do this, and we'll have the scouts go over to this one, and then we'll have our whatever else we got. T-21 Storm Captains. Yeah, and Black Suns. They'll crash this corner. This is a good list. Maybe I should run that. All right. We got a bunch of stuff with scale. We could kind of risk Boba jumping up here and being a real pain in the tush. No, we won't do. Oh, we have to because we can't go right here. We can't go right here because we'll clip our deployment. Might be hard to get that one done. Not a lot of good spots. And that's why it's great. Like one, okay, what's different about this than what the kind of like handful of scenarios we looked at on the big board? Um, One, you could get to all of these. Everybody, every dude on the board could get to all of these within the amount of available playtime, sort of no matter what happens. I mean, like, well, that's weird. It untinted everybody when I hit clear map. That's strange. Write that down. Okay. So if you're blue, you can't put these things too far away. Right? So right away we're trying to equalize the risk for the objective. Like I could put these in bad spots where they're hard to get to, like this is not awesome. But I do have scouts. We could scout over here. Right? And then turn one we'll do a climb and a tap. Climb tap. Climb tap. Pretend we could fit in. But I mean, meanwhile, look at this mess. These guys are going to be scouted out up behind this building. Now I got to do this. Ugh. Oh boy. Right? Look at this move shoot that's about to happen. Hello. Oh, we're just short of range too. Oh well. We'll survive somehow with all of our free tokens and sharpshooter one. And yeah. That's not good. It's not great, right? The timing of when these dudes hop this thing really matters. You think hard about giving them orders turn one so that they can hide comfortably behind this little turret until the end of the round if they can manage it, right? That's completely different than traditional VAPs, right? Traditional VAPs, and I think most scenarios, Turn 1, you want to go last. You want to go last. Maybe you're playing a 3-pip and you're like, well, I gotta weigh the 3-pip, the value of the 3-pip. I'm Darth Vader, I need my tokens. I'm Anakin, I need my tokens. I need my exemplar. I will turn that on and lose to standing orders and have to go first. Lose, right? In this case, because going last, if it's not obvious to you, is advantageous on a big board because you minimize the number of things that are exposed to enemy fire, probably, right? We started way the heck far away from each other. We need to get to a thing in the middle. By going last, you've had to run your stuff towards the middle, and then I could just shoot you because now you're in range, right? So you want to minimize the number of things that can be shot turn 1 on a traditional 6x3. That's most of round 1. It becomes slow, even though it's not necessarily that interesting, because the flow chart is usually very predictable, right? We've played enough games. We know. I gotta go with this. Okay, once that thing finally goes down, I can move these guys, right? It's just this like, there's a real clear order of events, and if the bag screws me a little bit, maybe I just pass with a unit to not expose it. Okay, so we're gonna make the game, we're gonna skip a turn collectively. We've decided like, hey, it's just not worth the risk. I'll make it higher variance later. Or I don't have a choice because you outrange me or whatever, right? Range still matters on a tiny board like this because it's about the maximum number of things you can hit, right? And it's still possible to hide stuff, right? There's plenty of line of sight blocking on this table. This is a fun board. We played KP Yoda clones versus Dooku Black Suns on here. Myself and Halstrom. It was very good. It was spicy. Clone fire support right out of the gate, turn 1. And I played a 1-pip because I was terrified of Yoda's stupid outmaneuver card going on Shotgun Boys right out of the gate, right? Turn 1 command cards become wild. It's wild. What do you do? Let's put everything. No, I'm not going to deploy everything. But, like, all these dudes crammed in here, plus the guys who scouted out. All these Wookiees crammed in here, plus the dudes, the Arcs who scout out, right? To right here, because this is the best spot for them. They could climb up here and do something mean. They could squeeze this Vap, right? Red has no incentive to do nothing anymore. Red is like, why should I even let you tap this Vap? Right? Yeah. So what we found in the games we've played, I've been playing with Captain Nita, who's been around forever, and Halstrom of the Luminous dudes, Yavin team, who's very good. They're local guys. So we've played approximately 1,000,000 games together, and we've been playing Blitz. The game takes about the same amount of time because there's no right. So like, there's no like stupid turns like turn 1 where it's just like standing orders, roll on nuts. I run my guys up, but not too much because I don't want to get shot, right? And a lot of measuring and stuff. When you get in here, it's like, oh, what do I do? There's a lot more time spent figuring out what to play, who to go with when, because everybody is at maximum individual risk all the time, right? Every unit. Now, that's not 100% true, but it's hard to hide everything all the time from all the things. Yeah. Let's look at some other deployments real quick, and then we'll call this done for Vaps. I think I've made my point. Spread them out. All right. Roll out. That's a good one to look at. Let's see what else we got. Long March. No. Hemmed in. Everybody's favorite. Vaps hemmed in right now is the closest thing to how Blitz feels. I don't know why these rotate. It doesn't make sense to me. All right, let's redeploy our Vaps. Get these arcs out of here, even though that's probably still their spot, isn't it? Okay. Let's redo these Vaps. All right, so I'm a big fan of hemmed in Vaps in the current game because it plays the most like this. I mean, if do you do something? No, because it's Wookiees, but like if you're the Wookiees and you're blue, look at this. Look at this. This is so mean. Come on, come get my Vap. And look at the zone. Look at the zone. If you put this here, they can't put anything on their side of the table. Red can't put a single thing on their side of the board. I love it so much. That is what blue's gonna do because blue loves chaos. Oh my gosh. I guess you think about, oh, you can't go quite that far. Oh, and you can't clip into blue's objective. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and you don't want to give this to blue too much, so you've got to do one of these, I think. Do you try to carve out better space over here? Is there a good spot over here? Probably want a spot with some cover. Let's go here. So that'll be red's first. That'll be red's first map. Oh, jeez. Okay, and then you're blue. So now you wanna hedge something kind of safe because you've you've made it so mean. Oh. Okay. I think you go here. Oh, I could scooch this over a little bit. I think you go here because you could probably cohere a big squad to kind of keep in heavy cover, right? If you send storms over here to deal with this, right? Yeah, you could go here, everybody over here. So at least this will be heavy to light when the arcs come kill you, instead of in the open, like it would be on the other side. All right. Yeah, yeah. All right. So that's blue's second one, and then red quits and goes home. I think if you're red, you think about this spot if it's very open, but you could strain the board and you've got a lot of short range stuff. That's not terrible. You got to really win this corner. Man, that's tough. Man, that's tough. Look at this zone. Are if have you ever you've never had a zone this rad in on a 6x3? Not in your whole life. I mean hemmed in Vaps you could zone a bit. It's kind of oh look those overlap. You can't even do that. So what, you're gonna put your other one over here if you're red? You can't do this. I guess you can, and you're just like, okay, these two are mine and those two are yours, the blue. Jeez. Boy, I don't feel good about any of it. I think you gotta go over here. I think you gotta go over here because you want to consolidate. You want to consolidate the board space even more because you've got the melee boys. Right? You could try to win the fight from this hill, make this one really hard to deal with, right? So blue's now got to figure out tapping two of these, and you can hold this hill, hopefully. I keep calling it a hill, but you know, you know what I'm saying. Where's the shooty guys? Come on, shooty guys, get up here. Look at that. Oh, they can hit them all. There's probably a spot where this guy could stand and actually shoot any Vap. Yep. The back half of this one he can't quite get, but there you go. Sharp one, 8 dice. It's not bad. Right? If you're shooting over here, put these guys on this hill. That guy might be able to see. Yeah, he can see. I'm guessing because the silhouettes, but yeah, look at that. Look at that lean. He's got the lean. Put this guy down here too. That geometry is wild, isn't it? Look at this. That guy's toast. Bonk. That's a great shot. This is so spicy. It's like a whole new game. You never have that, oh, we need a fifth Vap, so it's interactive. Like, good luck. Good luck having this not be interactive the whole time. Holy smokes. It's horrifying. Oh, look, this one's even a little bit cheaty, isn't it? I was clipping that. Goodness. It's it will cook your noodle a little bit. Turn one card picking is no joke. This video's getting really long. We'll just keep going. We'll just keep rambling. All right, jump cut. Sorry. My computer ran out of scratch disk space because this video got too long, and I record a lot of videos for clients and stuff. So, my hard drive fills up and I gotta purge. Okay, take two. Let's recap because I think this is the end. This thing's forever long. We have changed no rules in the game. The interactivity of the objective is resolved. This cannot be a non-interactive objective because there's just not enough space to play stupid hide, pick off a guy, run away game. You could pick off a guy and try to run away, but you have to try. You can't just do it by virtue of the geometry, right? Two, we've created lots of really interesting turn zero stuff in terms of aggressive placement, and all the sort of spice you get out of zoning with these things because they have to be, range 2 from each other. Third, we've raised the floor for the player who needs to be aggressive, right? So they can't put their stuff too far away where they hose a bunch of actions and then are way in this great big hole trying to get out. Against an opponent who could play just defensive by virtue of the geometry and the way the scenario works. So we've accomplished all of that by shrinking the board. That's literally the only change. The only change. Same org chart, same points, tiny board. All these things go away, right? Non-interactive objective solved. Asymmetrical risk for one player solved. I mean, you could still do it bad, right? Like you can still do a good job or a bad job, but we've smooshed the range of good to bad where it's not going to make or break the game out of the gate, right? Like even payload hemmed in, it's really advantageous for blue player, obviously, because blue player could put their cart right here. But for red, like you put one here, you've only got to go, right? 6 moves, right? As long as you just move every turn, you'll be fine to get to this crate. And you probably set up over here because then they've got to send you to this arch or something. Or this little wall. It's 26. All right, you put your card here. Get to 26. Right? So big advantage for blue, yes, but red is not completely hosed. Red is not in a position where they have to go so far that they can't score 3 points. Right? The board's too big. You're wasting that terrain anyway. You're not playing over there most of the time. Most of the time you don't use all 6 feet. You use 3 to 4 feet. Why not make this version of the game 4 feet? Wouldn't it be great if Major had one more row of little grid squares over here? No, it wouldn't. And they don't sell mats this size for this game system. We all probably have 3x3 mats from Skirmish and Spec Ops and whatever. So let's work within the SKUs that exist in the ecosystem, but make the game way better in multiple dimensions simultaneously by literally just chopping the board in half. Right? I'm pointing at my screen. All right. So there you go. That's today's soapbox. There will be more until you all convert um, to Blitz. Yeah. Yep. Yep. This is just a better game. It is just the best version of it. All the good stuff is still there. You have all the variety. You use all the stuff. You have all the good objectives. Skirmish has lousy objectives. Spec Ops has lousy objectives. There's less cards. It's not good. It's not the same. The standard play format has tremendous variety, good org chart. That sort of makes the math pretty decent in terms of, you know, nothing too high variance, other than command card roll-offs, which, like, I don't know, maybe I'll figure that out someday too. All you got to do is make the board smaller, right? We fix bad objectives that don't work great. I think that's it, right? There's more. Yeah, your hair grows back. Everything. You play Blitz, you name it. Uh, you'll lose weight. Everything you ever dreamed of. Yep, yep, yep. I'm not gonna say anything else. Get in even more trouble. All right. So reminder, you hit Blitz. It's right here in the mod. It's a little card scroll right here. You don't even have to plug this card in. I just did that because we were switching the thing. You just do your normal thing. You do your normal turn 0. You type Blitz in here after the cards drop, and then toggle this thing on, and you'll be set. Droids has some good skirmish maps. Imp Simp has some good skirmish maps. There's some skirmish maps in the mod if you go under maps, featured maps. I haven't played all of these, but we have been enjoying this system. I mean, we definitely still have questions. It plays exactly like the normal game. It's just out of the gate spicy, right? There's no really long range standoff, high variance weirdness. You can't do it. And if you, again, like I know I said this in the TED Talk, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a quick wrap up because this thing's already long. Here, I'm gonna talk for another 20 minutes. I've got to edit. I got to clip 2 videos together. Ugh. I regret everything. Don't play Blitz. It's going in the trash can. I'm kidding. Um, is there a future where I take the regular game out and just make the whole mod Blitz? Anyway, um, if you try Blitz, take a list you've already played or you've already got built that you designed for 6x3. Play it in Blitz. It's not going to play the same. I have played a list that like wanted to spread out a lot and be fast, and it didn't hold up great. But it was kind of built around punishing a player who had a bad turn 0, right? Which, like, I don't want that to be a thing. So it didn't work, which, like, makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, that's you gotta think it all the way through about if that's the right outcome or not. Um, yeah. So there you go. I hope that makes sense. I hope you're inspired to try it. It's in the mod. It's in the beta mod currently. It will go into stable whenever stuff comes out and I push stable up. Um, you know how to play it. There's videos covering that. This video is here to show you why Vaps sucks, which we all know because we always talk about putting that 5th Vap in. We need to put a 5th Vap in. No, it turns out we don't. The spirit of the 5th Vap is right, but the 5th Vap is not the right solution because it's too complicated. How do I get a 5th Vap model? It's just 3D print one, dude. Right? So the solution is not a product I buy. Oh, you gotta buy a whole other box. I don't want to buy a whole other box for one more Vap model. See? Doesn't work. And they're gonna put out an objective update pack. What happens when some dude shows up to a tournament who has been away from the game for 6 months and he has the old Vaps card and he doesn't have the stuff? See, it just becomes this huge mess. It's a huge mess. 3x3, it just works. It just works. I'm not gonna do one of these on recover because it's obvious. But you can only run away this far. That's not far enough. It's not far enough to stupid infiltrate and just run away the whole game list. You can't do it. You have to fight. So it becomes about controlling the boxes, not about just running away with them. Which is good. Games shouldn't be decided by just your D6 save rolls, even though they might already be that. Oh, I wish I rolled better saves. All right, get out of here. Go find some Blitz games on TTS. You know where to do it. Thanks, everybody.